Jake McAllister was the kind of cowboy people trusted. He lived alone on a quiet ranch in the warm Arizona desert, where long days of sun and wind shaped his world. His land was small, his savings even smaller, and most weeks he worked from sunrise to sunset just to keep things running. Even so, he tried to stay honest and kind because that was how his parents had raised him. One hot afternoon, a traveling trader rode up to Jake's ranch with a tired horse and a wagon full of odds and ends. The trader said he needed a Mustang tamed quickly and explained that Jake was known as one of the best horse handlers in the area. Jake agreed at once he needed the money, and breaking horses was something he understood well. But after the work was done, the trader looked embarrassed and admitted he didn't have enough cash to pay Jake. He offered something else. In the back of the wagon sat a young Apache woman, quiet and calm, her hands resting in her lap. The trader explained she had agreed to travel with him, but was now extra help he could offer as payment. Jake didn't like the idea at all. People were not things to trade, but the trader insisted. She had nowhere else to go. Jake finally agreed to let her stay on the ranch, only because he didn't want her left alone in the desert with a stranger who seemed careless. He promised himself he would find a better solution as soon as possible. The woman's name was Tala. She stepped down from the wagon with grace, her back straight, her dark eyes watchful but not frightened. She seemed young, maybe 19, and something about her calm presence made Jake feel she was not ordinary. She didn't speak at first, only nodded politely when he introduced himself and offered her water and a place to rest. The next morning, Tala woke early and helped with chores without being asked. She fed the chickens, carried water with ease, and moved around the ranch as if she had lived there for years. Jake noticed she had a natural understanding of animals. When one of the horses became nervous, she simply placed a gentle hand on its neck, and the horse settled almost instantly. Jake had never seen anything like it. Over the next few days, he learned small but important things about her. She didn't waste words, but when she spoke, her English was soft and clear. She seemed to know herbs and plants that grew near the ranch and often collected them at sunset. She carefully dried them and used them to brew soothing teas. Jake had always suffered from sore shoulders after long hours of ranch work, and one evening she offered him a cup of the tea. It eased the tension better than anything he had tried before. Jake began noticing details that didn't match the story the trader had given him. Tala wasn't lost, scared, or unsure of herself. She carried herself with quiet strength, as if she understood her place in the world and respected it. She never acted like someone who had been taken or moved against her will. Instead, she seemed like someone used to making her own choices. One afternoon, Jake was repairing a fence when he accidentally cut his hand on a nail. It wasn't serious, but the sharp sting made him drop the board he was holding. Tala was nearby and hurried over. She didn't panic. She simply washed the cut, placed herbs on it, and wrapped it neatly. Jake was surprised at how skilled she was with healing. She worked calmly and confidently, like someone who had learned from the best teachers. As the days passed, Jake started seeing other signs of her hidden knowledge. Sometimes she made hand gestures toward the hills or the sky movements. Jake had only seen Apache scouts use when signaling one another from a distance. She also wore a small necklace made of carved stone and beads. Jake hadn't noticed it at first because she kept it tucked under her clothing. One evening, as she leaned forward to gather firewood, the necklace fell into view. It glowed softly in the firelight, and Jake saw a symbol carved into the center. He didn't recognize it, but he knew it meant something important. The next day, one of Jake's neighbors, Mr. Carter, rode by to borrow tools. As they talked in the yard, Tala walked past carrying water. Mr. Carter's eyes dropped to her necklace, which had slipped into sight again. He stiffened. "That pattern," he murmured. "Jake, that's no ordinary trinket. Only children of Apache leaders wear something like that. Are you sure you know who she is?" Jake was startled. "She hasn't said much." The trader claimed she was traveling with him, but the whole thing felt wrong. Mr. Carter shook his head. "If she's who I think she is, you'd better be careful. Her family is important among her people." That night, Jake sat by the fire thinking about everything he had seen since Tal arrived. He had been too busy trying to keep the ranch going to question things. But now the pieces began to join together in his mind. Her quiet authority, her knowledge, the necklace, the way she moved with confidence. It all pointed to a life of honor and responsibility, not one of someone who could be casually traded by a wandering salesman. He realized he needed answers not out of fear, but because he wanted to do what was right later. As the sun sank behind the red cliffs and the sky turned purple, Tala came to the porch carrying 2 cups of tea. Her expression was as calm as always, but Jake sensed she had been waiting for him to speak. Tala. He began gently, I don't want to trouble you, but I need to know the truth about how you came here. She set the cups down and sat across from him. For a long moment, she said nothing. The quiet desert wind flowed around them, carrying the soft smell of sage. Finally, she lifted her eyes to meet his. You are kind, Jake, she said. You have not treated me the way the traitor believed you would. So I will tell you what truly happened. She explained that she had not been taken or forced into anything. She had met the traitor because he claimed he was bringing medicine to a nearby settlement, and she hoped to help people who needed it. Instead, she discovered too late that the traitor wanted to use her presence to gain favors and resources from others. When she refused his demands, he simply left her behind as a form of payment. She had not agreed to this, but she also knew arguing with him would not solve anything. I chose to stay calm, she said softly. I trusted that good people still lived in this land. Jake felt both humbled and sad hearing her words. She had shown nothing but grace and wisdom since arriving. He felt ashamed he had even accepted her from the traitor, even if only out of concern for her safety. Tala, he said, you never owed me anything. If I had understood the truth, I would have helped you return home right away. Tala nodded slowly. I know. That is why I am telling you the rest. She reached up and held her necklace gently between her fingers. This belongs to my family, she said. My father is Iron Hawk. Jake's heart skipped. Even he had heard of that name. Iron Hawk was a respected Apache chief known for his fairness and strong leadership. Tala continued, I am his daughter. My people will be searching for me. Everything suddenly made sense. The calm confidence, the healing skills, the sign she quietly used, and the carved symbol on her necklace. She wasn't just someone capable and intelligent. She was someone raised to lead. Jake felt a weight settle in his chest. If her people misunderstood the situation, they might think he kept her here unwillingly. He didn't want trouble, but more importantly, he didn't want Tala or her people to carry fear or anger because of a misunderstanding. Tell me what to do, he said quietly. Tala looked into the distance, where the desert stretched like a painted canvas. My people may arrive soon, she said, but you have treated me with respect. I will tell them the truth when they come. Jake nodded, trusting her completely. He felt a strange sense of calm. The truth would guide them, just as it had guided her. And somewhere out in the desert, far beyond the tall red cliffs and waving grasses, a small group of riders was already approaching, drawn by the hope of finding their missing daughter. The morning after Tala shared the truth about who she was, the desert felt different. The wind was softer, the sunlight warmer, and yet there was a quiet tension in the air that even Jake could feel. It was the kind of feeling people get when something important is about to happen. Jake fed the horses early, his thoughts drifting again and again to what Tala had told him. She wasn't just a visitor on his ranch. She was the daughter of Iron Hawk, a respected leader of her people. Jake understood why she carried herself with such calm confidence, why she moved with grace, and why she seemed wiser than most people her age. She came from a family known for great leadership and deep understanding. Tala helped with the morning chores as usual, but Jake could tell her mind was somewhere else. She often paused to look out at the far horizon. Her eyes held a quiet hope, as if she was waiting for something she had expected all along. Around noon, Jake noticed a faint cloud of dust rising near the distant hills. At first he thought it was just the wind stirring up sand. But as the shape grew larger and moved steadily, he realized it was a group of riders. Tala must have seen it too, because she suddenly stopped stacking wood and turned toward the hills. "They have found me," she said softly. Jake's heart thumped, not with fear, but with concern. He didn't want anyone to misunderstand the situation. He didn't want anyone to believe he had forced Tala to stay on his ranch. Most of all, he didn't want Tala to face any trouble on behalf of the mistake the trader had made. Tala placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "Do not worry. I will explain everything. My people trust my words." As the riders came closer, Jake stepped back, unsure of what to do. Tala, however, walked forward with steady steps, her eyes bright with recognition. The riders slowed as they approached the ranch. There were 8 of them, all dressed in simple but beautifully crafted clothing, and each one carried a calm but alert expression. Their horses were strong and well cared for, moving gracefully across the sandy ground. At the front of the group rode a man with silver streaks in his dark hair. Even from a distance, Jake could tell he carried a strong presence. His posture was straight, his eyes sharp, and his expression thoughtful. Tala whispered, "My father." Ironhawk dismounted slowly, every movement quiet and controlled. When Tala approached him, his face softened with relief. He placed both hands gently on her shoulders, a gesture full of care and respect. "My daughter," he said, his voice deep and steady. "You are safe?" Tala nodded, a warm smile touching her lips. "Yes, father, I am safe." Ironhawk looked past her toward Jake. His expression became more guarded, not unkind, but careful. The other riders remained still, watching quietly, waiting for their leader's signal. Jake felt his throat tighten. He didn't know how to speak to a chief, especially one who had been searching for his daughter. He didn't want to say the wrong thing. He removed his hat respectfully and held it in front of him. Ironhawk stepped forward. "You are Jake McAllister," he said, as if confirming something he had already been told. "Yes, sir," Jake replied. "I want you to know your daughter has been treated with respect. I would never harm anyone." Before Ironhawk could answer, Tala stepped between them. "Father, Jake has done nothing wrong. He did not know who I was. He did not keep me here against my will. He has been good to me." Ironhawk studied his daughter's face carefully. "You speak with certainty?" "I do," Tala replied. "He helped me when the trader made false claims. Jake protected me from being left alone with someone who did not care for my safety. I am grateful to him." The chief turned his gaze toward Jake again. This time, his eyes held less suspicion and more curiosity. "My daughter is honest," he said calmly. "Her words carry great weight." Jake nodded. "I'm glad she is safe now. That is all that matters." The tension in the air grew lighter. The riders relaxed slightly, though they still watched closely. Tala then did something unexpected. She reached into her clothing and pulled out the necklace she always kept hidden. She placed it carefully around her neck in full view of her people. The carved stone shone gently in the daylight. Ironhawk's expression softened even more. "When you wear that, it means you stand as a leader among our people." "I know," Tala said, "but I also want you to understand something. I wish to stay here for a little time, father." Jake blinked, surprised. He hadn't expected her to say that. Ironhawk seemed equally surprised, though his face remained calm. "You wish to stay?" he asked slowly. Tala nodded. "Jake has shown me kindness. I want to learn more about people outside our tribe. I want to understand their ways and share what I know. I feel this is something I must do." Ironhawk fell silent. The other riders exchanged thoughtful glances but said nothing. Finally, the chief looked at Jake. "Would you welcome her here, knowing she comes by choice?" Jake felt a warmth spread through his chest. Tala had brought peace to his home and had worked with kindness from the moment she arrived. The idea of her staying felt natural. "Yes," he said simply. "She is welcome here for as long as she wishes." A soft breeze passed through the ranch, almost as if the desert itself approved of their agreement. Ironhawk nodded slowly. "Then I trust you with something precious to me. My daughter is strong, wise, and capable. Treat her as a respected guest, and there will be harmony between us. You have my word." Jake replied. The chief placed a gentle hand on Tala's shoulder. "Follow your path, my daughter. You have always had a brave heart." Tala smiled warmly. "Thank you, Father." Ironhawk and the other riders stayed for a short while longer. Sharing calm conversation and learning more about Jake, they walked around the ranch, inspected the horses, and even tasted the cool water from the well. The atmosphere grew friendlier with each passing minute. When it was time for them to leave, Ironhawk gave Jake a respectful nod. "We will return to visit. Until then, may peace guide you, and you as well," Jake said. The riders mounted their horses and rode away, their silhouettes outlined against the glowing afternoon sun. Tala watched them go, standing silently for a moment before turning back toward the ranch. Jake looked at her with a gentle smile. "So you're staying?" Tala nodded. "Yes, there's much to learn, and much I can teach as well. And here, with you, I feel safe." Jake felt a quiet happiness settle in his heart. "Well then," he said softly, "welcome home." From that day on, life at the ranch felt different, but in the best way. Tala continued helping with the chores, gathering herbs, and caring for the animals. She taught Jake new ways to understand the land, to read the wind, and to appreciate the quiet wisdom of nature. In return, Jake taught her about ranch work, horse training, and the small joys of daily life in the open desert. Together, they formed a bond built on trust, respect, and the simple comfort of shared purpose. And every evening, as the sky turned gold and pink, they would sit on the porch side by side, knowing that the path ahead was bright, peaceful, and full of promise.